Welcome back, my gorgeous, good looking friends. Let's dig into this first hour of Harry and Meghan. This is supposed to be some sort of historical documentary, but what it ended up turning out to be is just a campaign to paint Meghan as this victim who had been oppressed by the British monarchy because she's a black woman. So I put this little slide together because I want you to see the ratio between the people that came out to support Harry and the people that in theory, either were paid or did this because it was for clout that came out to support Meghan. What you realize when you put this all onto one page and you look at the people that came out to support Meghan, the majority of them are in the entertainment, fashion, Hollywood scene. So, example, you have Nick Collins, who was her agent at one point. You have another woman at the bottom who was an agent. You have Heather Dirac, who was her Pilates instructor to the stars. You've also got people who work for her, like Misan Harriman, who does their photography at times. And then you also have Daniel Martin, who does her makeup. We also have another D-list celebrity like Abigail Spencer, who came forward. And then Silver Tree, who is an actual director that had worked on the show Suits with Meghan. All these entertainment people are not going to go against Meghan because they know that she could bury them if she wanted to, because that's what she does and that's what she's known to do. So, the real people that I think were impactful in this reality show were her mother and Samantha's daughter, Ashley. When you realize and you look at these folks, you see that it's very superficial in these relationships. And I'm going to assume that Meghan did this by design to make Harry look like he had nobody supporting him. The only people that came out to talk on his behalf was Nachos and his school friend, Nick. In the middle, you have somewhat neutral sources, such as James Holt, who is the, I guess, director of Archwell, and he was able to talk to the experience of working for the palace. I think he was somewhat balanced in his assessment on the relationship between the British media and how the palace uses the media in order to push out PR. I also think, though, his allegiance is with the Sussexes, so he was more favorable in supporting some of the claims that Harry and Meghan had been saying, but not full out saying that the British media was racist. The guy below James Holt, his name was David Alisoga. He was the actual Black historian. There was another Black historian, but he was more vocal about talking about the British monarchy and pretty much saying that, the British monarchy is still oppressing people in the Commonwealth. We'll get into that a little bit later, but he talked a lot about the history of the institution and, the foundation of slavery and blah, blah, blah. He was very much in support of Meghan being a part of the family, and he agreed that the treatment from the British press was cruel and vicious. And, he was not in favor of saying, oh, yeah, he supports Harry and Meghan in America. He was just emphasizing that he could see how the British media was racist towards her. That's it. So in the first episode or hour, they kick off giving us an idea or time frame of where that they were starting from. And that's where Harry comes in, and it just says at the bottom that he's at Heathrow Airport and it's in March of 2020. So he does say that it was in March and it was like a Wednesday, and they just finished their last engagement. So when I looked at the calendar, it looks like it was around March 9th. So that would be around March 11th that he was flying back. I do recall that Meghan left before him because she wanted to get out of London. So she went ahead, and I think some of the photos that we see does explain and show her leaving ahead of him. So I think that's where it places us. And they want the audience, well, no, they want to manipulate the audience into thinking that they started filming this stuff when they left the family in March.
Hate that has been stirred up in the last 3 years, especially against my wife.
So, being that he recorded this back in March of 2020, I do believe that he genuinely felt that he needed to leave because his wife was in danger. Just based off of all the gaslighting that she had been doing, of course, he didn't know any better and he, took his family and did the right thing. But I think a lot of this was part of the plan to get back to California. Now, I'm not saying that the harassment or the, intrusion wasn't real. I'm sure it was to a certain degree. However, we all know that part of the problem is the wife who has this addiction and can't help herself by calling these paparazzi to invade her privacy and letting them know where she's at. We know that Meghan and Harry went off to Canada in the month of November of 2019. Unfortunately for Meghan, she is the boy who cried wolf.
I just really want to get to the other side of all of this.
Yeah, the other side is California. You're almost there. To me, this looks very contrived and fake. I can't believe a word that comes out of her mouth. Is it just me, or does she look like she's about to crack up laughing? And the music that they chose for this is so awful.
I'm not going to say that it's comfortable.
What, telling the truth?
But when you feel like people haven't gotten any sense of who you are for so long.
Newsflash, Meghan, nobody cares. We just want you to shut up. Wasn't Archetype supposed to be your platform for people to get to know you?
People should expect the real me in this, and probably the me that they've never gotten to know. Certainly not in the past few years, where everything is through the lens of the media, as opposed to, hey.
Yeah, you're the new me.
Shut up, Meg.
A friend of ours actually suggested that we document ourselves through this period of time, with all of the misinformation that was going on out there, especially about us and the departure. It seemed like a really sensible idea.
I want to know who this friend is who keeps making these suggestions. Wasn't there a friend that suggested this Spotify and Netflix deal?
But also the Netflix and the Spotify of it all, that was never part of the plan.
You so had a plan. Meghan is doing her first video diary in February.
Maybe this is the first video diary? I don't know. We've talked about it. We keep talking about it because we know that right now it might not make sense, but one day it will make sense.
And how we know that it's February, look in the background. There's some heart balloons in the back there. What does that represent? Valentine's Day, and Valentine's Day is in February. So they were definitely recording before the final engagement. So they had some sort of plan.
So we're here Friday the, whatever it is, 7th.
This was when they went to deliver 2 meals for their photo shoot during COVID. I believe that Backgrid was the one that published these. They had called the paparazzi. So if you notice, Harry's wearing the same scarf, the same hat, the same shirt. Why so miserable, H? Is it because you genuinely don't want to be doing charity work?
Kids as best as we can, and also understanding the role that they play in this really historical family.
Does she understand how insane she sounds? So Meghan's referencing these children and acknowledging the roles that they play in this historical family. Honey, they don't have any roles in the family. And in that sentence, you could actually hear her thinking about those titles. Those children are going to grow up hating these two. I just can't wait for Archie's memoir to come out in 20 years. Now, who do we think this baby is? You think it's Murchie or Lily? Look how comfy that square moon bump looks for Archie. As I mentioned in the opening credits video, there are those stupid palm trees again. And Harry is watering grass, which I'm looking at this and I'm saying to myself, how is it that that one patch of grass did not get water? Maybe they let the gardener go and now Harry is in charge of doing it.
The past 6 years of my life, and books are written about our story from people who I don't know. Doesn't it make more sense to hear our story from us?
What? No.
And new court documents just revealed that Meghan Markle admitted to giving information to Finding Freedom after she and Prince Harry insisted that they had absolutely nothing to do with the tell-all book.
That lying bitch.
So 15 minutes into this episode, Harry starts talking about how he met Meghan. This is news to us today. You know, we should chip in for this couple and get them a notebook so they have a place to write down all their lives. This one came out and smacked everyone in the face.
Meghan and I met over Instagram.
Wait, what? Didn't they say that it was a blind date for the last, 6 years?
I was scrolling through my feed and someone who was a friend had this video of the two of them. It was like a Snapchat.
Oh gosh, just that whole thing. It starts like
With
dog ears.
the dog ears. And
That's what he saw of me.
Nope, not buying this snake oil.
And I said, who is it? And she said, it's Prince Has. And I said, who's that?
She's a goddamn liar!
I asked if I could see his feed. And so that's the thing. When people say, did you Google him? No. But that's your homework. You're like,
Look at Harry next to this lunatic. He's like, I can't believe you're lying again.
look, let me see what they're about in their feed.
Well, I didn't do any research about what that would be. No. I've never looked up my husband online. I just didn't feel a need to because everything that I needed to know he was sharing with me, right? Everything that we thought I needed to know he was telling me.
And then we got each other's numbers. We were just constantly in touch. Like, well, let's meet.
At this point, I don't believe this story. They've lied so many times. So now it's no longer a blind date. This is now, the story is that they met over Instagram and then they swapped numbers and they had been talking before they actually met one another. That's not a blind date. You know what the person looks like. You've been talking with them. This is so stupid. So what we see in this episode in the beginning, really, we're still at the beginning. So Meghan goes into detail about the first date and where they went, and how long she was on the first date. And, at this point, I'm bored. I think we're all bored. Nobody's really interested anymore because they've told so many stories. The both of them, even though they were trying to fake so much of this love for each other, you could see or sense that there was tension between the two of them, almost like a competitive spirit.
What was that supposed to mean?
Like one of the guys who's so much of an ego that that any girl would sit around and wait for a half hour for you. And I was just not interested in that.
Bitch, please, you would have stayed at that bar till it closed. Come on now. So Meghan is by herself. So she finishes telling the story about the first date. It's almost like she had to get the last word in and assert her female empowerment, because listen to what she says.
I left after an hour and I told him that I had other plans.
Well, according to Scobie in Finding Freedom, it says, at the end of the evening, which had lasted almost 3 hours, Harry and Meghan went their separate ways. Despite the palpable attraction between them, there was no goodbye kiss, no expectation, just a hint that something was there and they hoped to see each other again soon. Harry wasted no time in texting Meghan, who was back in her hotel room. His messages were often short and full of emojis. Blah, blah, blah. Listen to what Meghan now says the story is.
And then I called him that evening and I was like, look, I'm leaving the day after tomorrow. Do you want to grab dinner tomorrow night? And I'm sure he thought it was so forward and American.
I matter!
Shut up, Meg, you don't matter.
He had a list, apparently, of what he was looking for.
Let's not go there.
An extensive list.
This definitely gets under Harry's skin.
What were a few things on that list?
I'm not showing the list. Good, nice try.
They are definitely competitive with one another. But it is interesting to see that this is not really a love story, and this facade that they're painting is not fooling anyone. On this note, I'm going to stop here. I've had my fill and enough of these two for the day. I will be back soon with another review video, but until then, turn on your notification bell buttons. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you soon. Bye!
I was such a fraud.